Well, hello everybody. I'm going to show you how easy it is to can venison stew. There's a few different ways you can go about it. But first, let me tell you a little bit about a pressure canner. Since it has meat in it, you have to use a pressure canner and not a water bath, okay? And I dump in, I used to do heating up my jars to sterilize them. I used to use separate pans and everything, but you know how you only have so much room on your stove. So now what I do is I dump 4 quarts of water in my pressure canner, and then I fill up my jars that are clean and set them right in it. And then I turn it on to get them nice and hot. And then I end up putting a little bit more water in the pressure canner. Inside your pressure canner, there should be a line inside. You want to fill it up to like the line. You want to have at least 3 inches. I usually put in a little bit more, especially if it's cooking for a long time. And with this recipe, it's going to cook for an hour and a half. So, all right, what I did was I already filled up, because the canner load is going to do 7 quarts, unless you're doing pints. And I went ahead and I did up 5 quarts already to go into the pressure canner. Oh, they're a little hot, but I just wanted to show you. And I left 2 jars that I'm going to show you how to fill. And remember, these are hot sterilized jars, okay? I like to take a spoon first, and I'll show you the ingredients and everything in it afterwards, okay? I use a slatted spoon, and I just put it in until you reach about 1 inch at the top headspace, okay? And this is your little tool, and if you look at it, you'll see where it says 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch, okay? We're going for the 1 inch headspace. I'll show you how you measure that in just a second. Okay, it's going to need a little bit more, but all right, you take and you just at the top just go down like that. And if you have a little room, and I can get a little bit more in, and that should do it. Okay, now you're going to fill it with your liquid. Okay, and again 1 inch headspace. And there's different ways of making venison stew. I've done it the raw pack method, where you just put it in. Okay, now let's measure from the top, and there's 1 inch, okay? Now, you want to make sure, it's very, very important to remove the air bubbles. Okay, so use the other end, and you just stick this in, down towards the bottom, inside, and just press towards the center. Some people poke all around like that and stuff. I don't. I just go around each side and bring it towards the center, and then wait a little bit. You can see any air bubbles start coming up, which is a good thing. Okay? So I go around and I do all 4 sides. And then it's very, very, very important. You want to use some vinegar, and you want to clean the tops of your jars, okay? Use light vinegar, paper towel, okay? Because you want to make sure that your lid, in just a second I'll show you the lid. Okay, that's what you're going to use to get your lid out. Okay, now as you can see the rubber all around it? You want to make sure that the top of your jar is nice and clean, so the rubber is going to adhere to it really well, okay? And then when you put your screw band on, you want to put it on finger tight, just like that. You don't want to muscle it, okay? Then just give it another little tiny nudge. And there you go. It's all ready to go in the pressure canner. Okay, we'll fill 1 more. Like I said, it does 7 quarts, and that's what I'm doing is the quarts. But you see how easy it really is? You want to make sure you got everything ready to go. You got your jars, your lids, and your screw bands. all nice and clean, hot and sterilized. You got your pressure canner ready, the right amount of water in it. And some people just put the raw meat in and then they just put it in layers that way. But I kind of like to, and if you overfill it, it's no big deal, just scoop some out, okay? Because you're going to clean the top anyway, all right? All right, let's measure. Okay, there's 1 inch. Now we'll put the liquid in. I know I didn't have anybody to teach me about a pressure canner, and at the time I had the kind that you had to use the weighted gauges, and I've had that for so many years. I actually loved it, but now I have a totally different one that's not with the weighted gauges, but they're all easy. What I like to do, read through the book that comes with it. Okay, there's 1 inch. Now let's remove the air bubbles. Okay. Now what I did, because I didn't layer it this time or anything, I wanted to brown the meat. So what I did was, I took 5 pounds of venison meat. I cleaned all the sinew off, the connective tissue and everything, real well. And then I cut it up into bite-sized chunks. You use whatever size, but remember, it's going to cook well in the pressure canner for 1.5 hours, so you don't want to cut it up too small. 1 inch, 1.5 inches, okay? So I did 5 pounds of that. And then I did 3 quarts of potatoes that I peeled and washed, and I cut up into good sized pieces. And then I did 2 quarts of celery that I cut up, sliced into bite size. And I put celery in it, 3 cups. And I did a few onions, okay? But what I did was, I did them really fine because I don't care if they cook right in there, so you can't even tell there's onions in it, because almost everybody here does not like onions, especially the grandkids. So if I do them up fine enough, like in sauce or something, they don't even know it's there and they love it. It's weird, huh? But anyway, so I just threw everything in a pot and cooked it. And then for spices, I used a 1/2 tablespoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E. And that's all I did for the spices. I threw everything together in the pot, and you want to make sure you have water on and boiling, because after you got everything in your pot, you're going to dump the boiling water in it, stir it up really well, and then bring the whole stew to a boil. Excuse me. And then you're ready to pressure can. Okay, now let me get these in the pressure canner. Now how do you know when you can start timing for 1.5 hours in your pressure canner? Well, after you got everything in there, your 7 quarts, put your lid on and lock it. Turn your heat up. And then when you see steady steam coming out of your pressure valve, nice and steady, you'll see a steam coming through. Okay, you want to time that for 10 minutes of that steady stream of steam coming through. Okay, then excuse me. Then after 10 minutes, then you can start your timer. In quarts, it's 1.5 hours. In pints, it's only 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then, when it's done, turn your heat off. Okay, let me just get the lid on. Turn your heat on, or turn your heat off. And just leave it. Let it just Let me get a drink. I'm really sorry. But turn your heat off and just let it cool down naturally. Okay? And then once it does, then you can remove the top. And then you can set it out onto a cloth and just let it set for a good 12, 24 hours. Don't touch it. Okay? Let it just sit out on your counter. Then what I do after that is I take the screw bands off, and then I wash my jars and dry them, label and date them, and then I put them on the shelf. And then whenever you feel like having a venison stew, all you do is pop open your jar, throw it in a kettle. I like to make a roux with mine. Like I said, with roux you can use flour and water, cornstarch and water to thicken it a little bit. And then taste it. Maybe you might need a little bit more salt, or maybe you want a little more pepper, or maybe a little more garlic or something in it, you know? It's whatever tastes good to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this and you see how easy it is. I know in the beginning it was very scary to me, very scary for the pressure canner. My mother-in-law had one I was petrified of, let me tell you. But they've changed so much, and today it really is very easy to operate one. Like I said, I would just get comfortable with it. Go through your booklet that comes with it, learn what the parts are called, and so forth. Okay? All right, everyone. Have a good night. God bless. Bye-bye.